Hello again. Today I'm watching some more videos about some of the protests that have been happening this week. This is a video from the channel Trigonometry. Konstantin Kissin is interviewing people that are protesting in London.
Last summer, Britain saw an eruption of riots following the horrific murder of 3 young girls in Southport. Amplified by false claims spread online that the attacker was an asylum seeker, the response was unrest across the country, with migrant hotels becoming a focal point. The government responded with prosecutions and stiff sentences for rioters and online commentators. But the issue of illegal immigration won't go away, and 12 months on from the riots, we now see daily protests across the country. That's why I've come to Canary Wharf in the heart of London to speak to people on both sides and show you what's actually happening on the ground. So here we are outside of the Britannia Hotel in the heart of Canary Wharf. Now, a few things you should know about this. This hotel, £472 a night. If you're an American, that's about $650 off the top of my head. It's very expensive. Now, why is this happening? You might remember last year during the summer, there were riots across England, and most of them were in very, very deprived parts of the country where people are poor, where things are cheap. And so the government was putting illegal immigrants, asylum seekers, refugees, whatever you want to call it, into hotels there. And what that then did is created a lot of resentment. So what the government has started doing now is putting these people in very expensive hotels in parts of the country where there's less of a community, there's less concern about wages, there's less concern about housing, where a lot of the population is quite transient. The financial people, the bankers here, are not going to go out and protest. That was the rationale, but judging by the police presence, that is not what we're going to see today.
Wow. I just want to say the production quality of this is amazing, and just really grateful for what this team are doing here.
Hi guys, I'm filming a documentary about the protest. Would you mind answering a few questions?
I'm all right, thank you.
I'm just curious, what brings you here?
I told you I'm not going to speak to you.
Okay,
So-
why not?
Because we don't give interviews to far right.
You don't give into to far right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not far right, I'm an immigrant myself, actually.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Where you're from and you're being very forceful, so...
Well, I just want to speak to people, that's why I'm here, that's all.
We've seen this before, haven't we? What people will refer to as the left right now, refusing to answer any questions, which is unusual and raises some suspicion, because you're out here protesting, surely you have a message, and yet you don't want to give that message. But then she takes one look at Konstantin Kissin and she's like, far right, which would imply to me that she's so far to the left that she's off the curb, that the offside wheels have mounted the curb, and that she's just off the road now, just off-roading, and that anyone to the right of her is far right. But I think it's really unfair to characterize Konstantin Kissin as far right. As he said, he's an immigrant to this country himself. He's a Russian-Ukrainian immigrant, in fact. Now, is he on the left? No. He's probably a moderate. I would probably describe myself as a moderate, taking flack from both sides. But yeah, let's see if we can get anyone to talk to him.
All right, fair enough. Let's try and find... Hi there. I'm filming a documentary about the protest. Would you like to answer a couple of questions just about what brings you here? What are your thoughts on what's going on?
Been stung too many times, mate.
Being stung? By who?
Nope.
I've never stung anyone, so I go to protests from different sides. All right, fair enough.
The other guy there, the other girl was going, "Oh, you're being very forceful with me as well." It was like she started accusing him.
I go to protests from different sides. All right, fair enough.
And I think he was very respectful in the way that he approached her as well. But there we go. That's what we get.
Different sides. All right, fair enough.
So we speak to proper journalists, not incels in their bedrooms. So no one's going to speak
Our
to you.
YouTube
You can hang
channel.
around.
He's just being rude now. We speak to proper journalists, not incels in their bedrooms. That's just rude. And also, this man is clearly not in his bedroom. So what the hell are you talking about? Also, I mean, Konstantin Kissin, I don't think it's a fair characterization to call him an incel. He's married with children, and he's clearly not in his bedroom. So this guy is just saying, I've made up this image of who you are, and despite any evidence that might be directly in front of me, I'm going to ignore what my lying eyes see. And I'm going to just say that you are what I say you are, and I say that you are an incel in your bedroom, and therefore I'm not going to talk to you. That's weird. I don't believe that he's actually capable of such self-deception. There's something suspicious about that.
YouTube channel has 1.5 million
that's amazing.
subscribers.
That's amazing.
So
Not listening to what he's saying. That's amazing. Before he even finishes his sentence. Yeah. There's something funny about this guy.
would you like to talk to us about why you're here? I just want to ask you what brings you here, what you'd like. No? Why not?
Because we speak to proper journalists.
What does that mean? What's a proper journalist?
Someone with a press card.
So if you don't have a press card, they're not a journalist. You won't talk to them. Isn't the point of a protest to get your message out? Isn't it? So why won't you get your message out to a large number of people?
It's a good point. That's exactly what's on my mind right now as well, and this is what's arousing suspicion.
Okay. No one wants to speak to us, even though they're here to protest and to express their opinion. We're trying to get their opinion on camera, and none of them want to talk. It's very interesting. It's very strange. If I was protesting about something, I'd really want to get my message out. And
Maybe they're not there to get their message out. Maybe they're there for a different reason.
anyway, should we go and talk to the people across the road? Hi there. What brings you to this protest here today?
I live here. I'm a resident. I'm a very local resident. So
Where are you from? Are you Poplar or Docklands? Or, sorry, mate.
Canary Wharf.
Oh, you were Canary Wharf. Okay.
Yes.
And how long have you lived here?
Since this building opened 5 years ago.
Okay. And what is it that brings you here specifically? Are you concerned about the Asylum Hotel, or
Absolutely, yes. It's
why are you concerned about it?
because they are unvetted, undocumented criminals. Just by the fact that they entered the country illegally, they are criminals. And also, what nice person would leave a war-torn country, leave their children and wife and children behind, and come here for a better life?
That's an appeal to people's values. And that's quite interesting, really. What kind of people are these to leave their families?
Children and wife and children behind, and come here for a better life. That says everything about the
And
people.
in the time that this has been going on, I don't think it's going on that long, but have you experienced any issues because of the fact that these people are here?
Not
No.
yet, but they've only been here, about 10 days or something, a week, 10 days. So we don't know yet. But we've already put a lot of extra security in. We're having flood lighting, etc. Because I already don't feel safe going out in the evening. We know these people. There've been instances in other parts of England where there've been attacks, assaults. We put 1,100 men, fighting-age men in there. What do you expect? I mean, I can't stand these idiots over there that are just funded by George Soros for a start. Go and ask them if they'll have that in their home, and they'll immediately say, I rent, or I haven't got a room. Because and they don't understand that how it affects people, children, girls. Parents don't feel safe. There are too many schools, nurseries, play schools in this area. Too many that are in danger.
Okay. So she doesn't know that these people are funded by George Soros. But at the same time, if I found out that they were funded by George Soros, I would not be surprised. As I said earlier, the fact that they don't want to talk to press is very suspicious in the first place. And some of them being paid actors is not beyond the realms of possibility. It's not even far-fetched to suggest. However, she offers no evidence for it. Good, fair questions from Konstantin Kissin as well. Like, has there actually been an incident? Has anything actually happened? And she's like, no. And yeah, this is why moderates get flack from both sides, because they ask uncomfortable questions. But, she did very well in response to that. And, last year, these were the people that Keir Starmer was dismissing as far right, and the mainstream media dismissed all these people as far right. And from what I saw, most of the public and people that I knew just accepted the opinion that they were told to have. But I don't think it's going to go that way this time round. But we'll see what happens.
You'll never pay for Netflix again.
Oh, adverts. I'm going to pause the stream. Let's go. There's so much going on here.
They're not a risk! Why have they been separated from people from their own country?
To start with, okay, we've got people on the right side of the fence going, communist scum off our streets, which is a response to people on the left saying, fascist scum off our streets. It's a dismissive ad hominem attack. It's an insult, frankly, and it's not constructive to the debate. And then next to those guys, we got this guy who's like actually trying to engage in dialogue. He's actually like shouting across the fence, asking questions, and he's probably not going to get any answers. This probably isn't the best way to engage in a debate. But at least he has questions, and I'm sure if somebody from the left side of the fence actually came back with answers, then the debate would happen. But it's very unlikely that anyone from the left is going to dignify anything that this man has to ask with a response. We'll see.
If they're not a risk, why have they been separated from people from their own country? Why are they separated from asylum seeker families? Their own faiths, their own religions, their own backgrounds, their own cultures. They've been separated from them. Why? Why if they're not a risk? Why
Why are they not being put into hotels with the family asylum seekers as well? Why are they being separated from the family asylum seekers if they're not a risk to anyone? So if they're a risk to the family asylum seekers, they're a risk to us here in London, they're a risk to everyone in the UK. So it doesn't matter where I come from, everyone needs to be going to where these hotels are housing these men. It shouldn't be happening, and that's the bottom line. It should not be happening.
Do you know what's strange is I went over to the other side and I asked them the same questions, and none of them want to talk, which I found very strange.
Arguments are just, they have no argument. They're delusional. They just don't make any sense. They have no real valid points. They just, I can't understand what goes through their head.
And what would you like to happen?
This needs to stop, right? If they can't send them back immediately, we can build warehouses very quickly. We can set up. We've got plenty of centres where we can pitch up tents. It's fine in France and everywhere else for them to be sleeping in tents. They can do it. They can do it here. The thing is, right? It's they're breaching national security, right? So the first thing they do when they arrive in the UK, they are breaking the law. If I break the law right now, I've just been threatened to be arrested if I cross the road. If I cross the road again, the police suggest to me I will be arrested for crossing the road, right? So they're coming into the country illegally, and the first thing they do is break the law. They are rewarded with hotels, with phones, with money, with food, with clothes. I'm going to be thrown in jail if I cross the road. They're crossing the English Channel illegally, and they're getting rewarded with hotels. Make it make sense.
And what do you think about the mood of the country? Because obviously we had riots last year.
We are a volcano ready to erupt. Oof. One incident away, it's going to go off.
The scary thing is, I believe him when he says that. I think we are one incident away from something very gruesome and very ugly in this country. Sadly. Konstantin Kissin again asking proactive questions, which oddly seems kind of Russian to me. I don't know why. Maybe I'm crazy, but to ask questions like, what do you actually want to occur? What do you want to see happen? Whether it's a Russian thing or not, I just appreciate that as a question. When people talk about what they stand against, I think it's important to say, okay, but what are you for? Are you even for anything? And this guy does have a response to that. There are a few different points all meshed in together here. The first thing is about illegal migrants' threat to national security. If they are undocumented people and we don't know who they are, then that's a risk because they could be criminals and we wouldn't know. And we don't know how many of them are criminals because we don't know who they are, because they don't have passports, etc. That's one point. But then I think there is some envy in here as well, if I may use that term. That it's unfair. Like, why did they get a £400 a night hotel and all this good treatment when people that are working full time don't get the same treatment? It reminds me of an experiment done, which I think I'll show at the end of this video. But let's continue.
Away, it's going to go off.
Hi there. I was wondering what brings you here today.
The safety of our children and the sovereignty, the sovereign birthright of our nation.
And where have you come from today? Are you local?
I'm East London, born and bred.
Really?
Yeah.
How long's your family lived here?
How long? You're talking about hundreds? Go back hundreds?
Wow, that's amazing.
Generations.
So this really is your community here?
This is my land. This is my Christian land. This is.
And why do you think that they're putting these asylum seekers in these hotels here? Because we haven't seen that before.
Because there's a bigger agenda.
And what do you think that is?
The Great Reset.
Everyone's like, ooh, AI, look.
Wow. The Great Reset. It's funny, you know, this woman doesn't seem too good at articulating herself to start with. But then she did actually just say a lot in what she believes is going on. The Great Reset, she says.
What is that?
COVID never worked. COVID never worked for the elites, and now they are sparking an outrage.
You think they're creating this deliberately?
100%, million %. And I absolutely I stand paramount on that.
And why do you think they're doing that?
Because, like I said, it's the Great Reset. It's control, it's conquer and divide. And it was all to do with ID, digital identification.
What would you like to see happen here?
I would like to, for them, the illegal. I'm not right. Don't get my words twisted.
Come a little closer, because the mic.
Don't get my words twisted. I'm all for legal asylum seekers, not the illegals. We don't know what they are. We don't know who they are. They could be murderers, rapists, robbers, everything under the sun. Whereas if we've got a legal stance on an individual, we know where to go.
And why are you concerned about security? Do you feel that illegal immigrants are committing crimes?
They're sexual predators. The statistic speaks for itself. So you can't deny statistics. What's going on? Look at the statistics.
And what statistics do you mean specifically?
The rape charges, the paedophile charges, and sexual predatory charges on different nationalities. And sorry to say, Afghanistan was at the top of the percentages. So it's all there in black and white. Anyone can go and look up this information. I'm not lying. It's all there for the public domain.
And how do you feel the politicians are doing in terms of trying to deal with this issue?
They're not. The politicians that we've got in house are clowns. Like I said, not our circus, not our monkeys, but we know the politician clowns. That's what we do.
And what do you think is going to happen if this continues?
If it continues, there's going to be anarchy. There's going to be a civil war. There's going to be absolute carnage. There's not going to be a country worth fighting for. We need to make Great Britain great again.
Well, she makes the same point as the previous guy, that we're on the brink of a kind of civil war. She did challenge the viewer to check statistics, so that is precisely what I will do. Okay, so here we go. Seek and ye shall find, my friends. We've got England and Wales sexual offences per 100,000. And she did say that Afghanistan was at the top, and she was not wrong. It is not exactly a photo finish either. It's by a very large margin. And we see UK down here, very small amount. I mean, this is just from data of offences that have been reported as well. We don't get to see, obviously, things that have not been reported. So she says, you know, look at the statistics. They will reveal that I'm telling the truth, and she is telling the truth. She also talks about divide and conquer, the problem, reaction, solution, strategy. This is a kind of Machiavellian strategy of control, top-down control over the masses. And really what she's saying is that the government are allowing civil unrest to occur so that they can implement emergency measures and encroach further on a system of control that involves things like facial recognition technology and digital ID and digital currency and things like this. So, yeah, I mean, I would say that this woman has, she's made some decent points. She's more wise than she sounded initially. And yeah, I think people on the left would be quite reactionary to her when she says they're sexual predators, and then they'd be like, we're not all sexual predators. And then she's like, look at the statistics. And the statistics are on her side. It just depends if you're capable of like a sort of nuanced thinking, whether or not you're going to get offended by the things that she's saying or not. But anyway, let's continue.
So I noticed you've got an Israel flag. Yeah, why have you brought an Israel flag to one of these protests?
Well, they support Hamas.
Those guys over there?
Yeah, they support Hamas. So that's why I'm Jewish and they support Hamas. You never see them support this country. They're Hamas supporters. They want to see the genocide. When they chant from the river to the sea, that means the destruction of Israel. That means the destruction of me. And that is never going to happen, right? For me or Jewish people in this country. They support Hamas. And what they done the 7th of October, was diabolical. And that's it. We don't want them. They support Hamas, and I support Israel. Even though I'm British, I support Israel.
What would you like to see happen with the migrant hotels?
Well, I like to see veterans and homeless people first. I mean, why are our veterans? I was homeless as a British man. I was born over here, and as I said, they never put me in there. These people are undocumented mouths, right? We don't know where they tear up their passport. They broke into the country illegally. They've already broke the law when they come into this country. So we don't know who they are, whether they got any criminal criminal convictions, and we don't know whatever groups they're involved in. They might be involved with ISIS, or they might be jihadists. We don't know who they are. And for me, I think they're invading, and they created a Muslim jihadist army. That's what I believe in.
Hello, mate.
For people on the left, I would say have a little bit of empathy for Jewish people in the UK. All right, so previously we've had people saying, look, these people are undocumented, so we don't know who they are. They could be rapists, they could be murderers, etc. This guy's saying they might be enemies of the Jews. Like, they might be people who want to kill me because I'm Jewish, right? They might be radical Islamic, Hamas, ISIS, and what have you. And he's right, they might be. Do you know why? Because we don't know who they are. Because they've torn up their passports, as he says. Because they are undocumented illegal immigrants. So you can't say that they're not criminals. And it doesn't matter if most of them aren't. The fact that you have some people amongst this group that are radical extremists, or even might be, is a risk. It puts us at risk. And again, imagine being Jewish in the UK right now. I mean, you might feel safer in Israel than you would in the UK right now if you were Jewish. Also, if you don't see the irony of calling Israelis Nazis, then there's no way I could persuade you of anything. There's no hope for you. No, I don't mean that. That's mean. But if you don't see the irony in that, I just don't know how anyone could persuade you of anything. Okay, but let's continue.
Invading, and they created a Muslim jihadist army. That's what I believe in.
Oh yeah, and he's saying that they're invading and creating a Muslim jihadist army. That might be the case since October the 7th. Radical Islamists and the nation of Iran has been funding radical Islamist groups that want to revive the caliphate, essentially. So yeah, there is a real possibility, there is a real threat of that occurring. Yeah, do I think that it's going to wreck the United Kingdom? Ultimately, no, I don't believe that. However, if I was an Israeli Jew in the UK right now, I would feel quite concerned.
Hello, mate. So you're just passing through. You wanted to stop by and see what's going on.
Yeah.
What's your take on all of this?
I mean, this is going to continue on for ages, but what I understand is that, what's the hotel called?
Britannia.
Britannia, yeah. I understand there's a 5-year contract, so obviously there are a lot of far right that's quite concerned about the migrants coming in. And obviously, if it was in any other country, they would be doing the same, like locals in other countries, when especially a lot of people are coming in from an unknown area, they would have the same concerns.
And where are you from?
I'm from Sri Lanka.
Do you have this problem in Sri Lanka?
No.
What do you think Sri Lanka would do if it had tens of thousands of people coming on boats from somewhere else illegally?
They would have a problem with it.
What about you guys?
Fairly reasonable. He's not really getting involved. He's standing on the sidelines. He did say that the people that were protesting about this are far right. And I think he's saying that because that's the mainstream media narrative, right? That's the Prime Minister's narrative. If here's what's happening, and if you're not happy with it, then that must mean you're far right, which I would describe as flying off the handle. And I don't think this gentleman is flying off the handle, but he is kind of repeating what he's heard said over and over again, which is that these people are far right. Okay, let's carry on.
Boats from somewhere else illegally.
They would have a problem with it.
What about you guys? Where do you come down on this issue?
Well, I think there's two sides to every coin. I can't really I can't really say like I'm for either side. I think there is like obviously an identity that people want to protect, you know, of being English and
Imagine
What is going on with these adverts? Right, I'm carrying on with a different browser because these adverts are redonkulous.
I think there is like obviously an identity that people want to protect, you know, of being English and having that ability to like, you know, not have people flooding in and whatnot. And there's also another side where it just allows people to be like more inclusive and give people, I guess, like, you know, safety and everything. Honestly, I just think there's two sides to every coin. There's always going to be. So
It's
like,
good. I feel like it's good.
Young men probably don't have a lot of knowledge of the wider scenario, and to say, you know, there's two sides to every coin and I'm not taking a side, I would say is, firstly, it's absolutely fine to do that. And I think it's actually quite a wise position for a young person to have, because what you stand for today, you may fight against tomorrow, especially when you are this age. So fair play to him. On the other hand, it's not good to either be ignorant or lack awareness of the situation that you are in. Because you might be in danger and you wouldn't know if you were in danger or not if you don't have good situational awareness. So anyway, his buddy on the right's about to chime in.
I feel like it's good that people get to exercise their truth, you know.
Sorry. It's a little bit of puke just came out there.
And it's
their truth. Moral relativism.
So it's good. I feel like it's good that people get to exercise their truth, you know. And it's you know, like, hopefully there's no conflict, but they're speaking their minds, and I think it will be good for everyone in the long run to get all of this energy, all of this pen energy out. So let's hope that it ends nicely.
I cringe somewhat at what he's saying. When you talk about my truth and your truth and everyone gets to say their truth, that is a position of moral relativism. That is to say that everything's just an opinion and that there's no absolute right or wrong and there's no absolute truth. He might claim to believe that, but I don't believe that anyone actually believes that when it really comes down to it. And he says, you know, oh, it's good that people get to speak their minds, which is great. You know, just it's good that we're still free enough in this country to voice our opinions. I mean, are we though? But that's his point. An appeal to freedom, which is great. But he seems to have this belief that as long as people can just air their grievances and just get it off their chest, then everything will just settle down and we can all just go back to business as usual. And I think he's woefully unprepared for what's about to come, if I'm honest. But fair play to these guys. You know, it's they're trying to have a level-headed opinion, and if they can retain that throughout their life, it will serve them very well. So yeah, let's carry on. Right, so this is what I would describe as far right, okay?
Fucking bummer!
There we go, you see?
Bummer!
Loutish sort of football hooligan behaviour, hiding their faces, just chanting and shouting. And this is what the mainstream would focus on to tar this whole side of the fence with a far right brush and say, you know, as a news article, they would say far right protesters came along and they'd show these guys and try to make out that it's only these guys on this side of the fence. It's not. And the amount of people on this side of the fence is growing and growing. And we've got women on this side of the fence now as well, which is a significant turning point, I would say, for the movement in general.
I'm not singing anymore. You're not singing. You're not singing. You're not singing anymore.
As you can see, things are getting a bit heated behind me, and that is one of the reasons I like to come to these protests myself, because I want to see things that are happening with my own eyes and show you. The reason being, of course, we all know that very often the things you see in the media are not necessarily an accurate reflection of what's actually going on.
Right.
And that is why we're incredibly proud to partner with Ground News for this video.
Okay, so adverts. Very good. Let's carry on.
Trigonometry. And now let's head back to the protest. Hi. I was just wondering what brought you here today.
I came out here today to support refugees that are in this hotel and just to basically just protest against it.
Okay, so great that they've got somebody on the left who's actually willing to talk. I'm really pleased that that happened. Otherwise, this whole documentary would appear to be like a biased publication. Not because Konstantin Kisin is that biased that he would only interview one side, but just because so far people on the left have been refusing to talk to him. So I'm grateful for this girl. She kind of slipped on her words a bit there, didn't she? She said, "Oh, I want to protest against the refugees," but I don't think she meant that.
Against what is happening right now.
Right.
And what would you like to happen with here in terms of the refugee issue?
For them to leave them alone, you know? They've come to this country. Do I know the reason why? No. It could be for any other reason. I don't care. These people deserve to be in a place where they feel liberated and safe and comfort. But I can't do with the protest. I can't do it. We are one people. We should be one people, not be divided on these borders that were created by humans.
Okay, I've been told off in the comments for interrupting people when they speak, and I've been trying not to do it, but she's flying out so many different things that if I just wait till the end, I might miss something. Did you hear her when she said, "I don't know what these people, what they're here for, and I don't care"? She actually did say that, and I believe her when she says that, and that's a problem for the debate. She's basically saying, I don't want to have a debate. I don't know why these people are here, and I don't care why they're here. So yeah, now she's going on about borders and how borders are entirely fictitious and that we shouldn't have them.
I just don't think that's right.
So you mentioned that we're all one. So would you like to have no borders at all?
I think that it shouldn't divide us on who we like are. I don't think we should be like, you're from this country, so you're a bad person. Well, you look like this, you're a bad person. I don't agree with that.
Okay, so she doesn't know what people on the other side are saying, and she doesn't care. And so she has to fill in what she thinks they think with her own thoughts. So this is what's known in just logically as a straw man case. I don't know what they think, but they probably think this, or they must think this.
Perspective. I don't agree with that perspective at all. I don't look at a person who looks completely different from me and automatically assume who they are and their agendas. I don't do that at all. I do that from their action. If you're a bad person through your action, then you're a bad person. If you're brown, I don't care what you look like. If you're black, if you're white, I don't care. It depends on what you do with your life. That determines who you are as a person.
And what are you hoping that gets achieved by the protest here today?
Again, just to leave them alone, you know? They're out here working, or not, and even if they aren't have these qualifications, they're a doctor, they're doing this with their life, even if they aren't doing that, they still should deserve to be here, you know? Who are we? Britain is a place that has colonized multiple countries in the entirety of their history, you know? The British Empire was one of the biggest empires, you know? So how can we go and colonize these other countries, but these other countries now want to come here and now all of a sudden it's wrong? That doesn't make any sense to me. doesn't make any sense to me. What I want here today is for them to understand that these people are people at the end of the day. They don't deserve to be scrutinized for who they are and why they came here. That's what I think.
And one of the, I tried to talk to some of them over there. One of the things they say, I talked to a couple of women especially, they say they're concerned about sexual assault, protection of children. Do you think those are legitimate concerns?
I'm a woman as well, right? I'm a woman out here as well.
Sorry, just come a little closer, otherwise the mic doesn't
I'm a
work.
woman as well. I'm literally a teenager myself. Okay, that's also concerns of mine. But I could point to another white man and be like, you could sexually assault me as much as the next brown person or black person. You can assault me as well. These people are not more likely to assault you. You could very well much assault me as well. You are no different. That's my point. You are no different to anyone else.
These people are no more likely to assault me than a white UK person. But statistics show otherwise. People from Afghanistan are more likely to assault you than a UK resident or a UK national. So it appears that she's not been looking at both sides of the argument. You know, those who know only their own side of the argument know little about that.
And how do you feel the government is handling this situation?
Poorly, absolutely poorly. Poorly in all different ways, you know? I don't think that they should have even given out these locations towards these people who are out here to discriminate, right? I think they should just be left alone. But also how they're dealing with other political stuff outside of this country as well. It goes again that this country is built on racism. It's built off the backs of other people as well at that. And I can't agree with any of it. I can't agree with how the government is dealing with any of this.
And why do you say this country is built on racism? What do you mean?
Because of the British Empire, it's built off colonization, which is rooted in racism. It's built off bringing, in the Windrush, bringing black people, black Caribbeans to this country, treating them horribly, and then, just sending them out into the world. You don't treat them right. So you built this country off the backs of other people, and then to continue not to treat them right at all. These people are teachers, are doctors. They are part of the society they're part of our society, and we are not the people who should be taking from them or taking away who they are because where they've been, if that makes sense.
Well, no, thank you for talking to me. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Fair play to her, for speaking. And he says, thank you for talking to me. I really appreciate it. And that's great because people on this side of the fence seem to be avoiding a discussion. A lot of things that she said here. She's a teenager. She doesn't have children, I would be willing to bet. I think if she did have children, she would have a different opinion about this. Your whole life changes when you have kids, and if something happens to increase the risk of harm to your own children, then that's a reason to stand up and protest. Also, she talks a lot about British colonization and how Britain is built on the backs of slaves, etc. This to me has a strong smell of psychological warfare. It seems as though she has been through a process of demoralization, which is something that I can clarify further at the end of this video, so I'll make a note of that. But regardless, again, she's young. She doesn't seem to have much of a perspective on the entire situation, and by her own admission, only knows her own side of this argument and is not listening to the other side and doesn't care. By your words, you are justified, and by your words, you are condemned. What are the chances that this girl is going to grow up to be 40 or so and go, oh, you know, when I was a teenager, I was really switched on. I really knew what was going on. You know, I really had a good grasp of political situations and reality in general when I was a teenager. Like, do you think she's going to say that? You know. So anyway, let's continue. But yeah, well done to her.
Thank you for coming out today. This is the first step in a much bigger battle.
This is the guy that accused Konstantin Kisin of being an incel in his bedroom, when he was clearly not in his bedroom, and nor is he an incel. What's he got to say for himself?
We need more leaders in that battle. Join Stand Up to Racism. Organise in your area. We are going to shut the fascists down.
Ah. Sign up to Stand Up to Racism. That sounds like an organisation. It seems very much like he's a representative of an organisation, which would make him a paid actor, a paid protester.
Hi there. Thank you so much for talking to me. What brings you here today?
I'm a local resident. I see the people opposite on their daily just harassing people, which is not right. So I decided to come down and show my support for the refugees.
And what would you like to happen here? What would you like to happen with the refugees who are in this hotel?
Well, I think the people opposite the road need to leave them alone. It's doing no good. I don't particularly care what their point is, but it's not helping.
Again, I'm interrupting. Same points that the previous girl made. Right? I just want these people on the right-hand side of the fence to leave the refugees alone. What are the chances of that happening? I don't think there's anything that these young ladies can do to make people on the other side of the fence leave the refugees alone. Second thing she said was, I don't know what they want and I don't care. All right, let's just go back.
It's doing no good. I don't particularly care what their point is, but it's not helping.
I don't particularly care what their point is. Okay, those are her words.
Their point. Oh, sorry.
Let them go! 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 Let them go!
So before we were rudely interrupted by someone being arrested, you were saying you live here and this is becoming a disruption to the point where you can't concentrate in your own house. Yeah. Tell me about that.
My mother came to stay with me for a while, and we had disrupted nights for sleep because there's music playing, there's people shouting, beeping constantly with other people agreeing with them. We could not get on with our day because there was just so many disruptions, couldn't concentrate because they're just here all the time.
The protesters?
Yeah. They rattle the fences, they attack delivery drivers who have nothing to do with this, and I don't care what they believe in, it's not helping their cause, it's not helping either side. I just don't think any of this is helpful on their side.
Down with this sort of thing, she says. NIMBYs. Not in my backyard. These people coming round here, making loads of noise, rattling fences, being noisy, and we can't get to sleep, and I want to go to sleep. And so they should all shut up and go home so that me and my mum can get some bloody sleep at last.
I talked to a couple of women and mothers, particularly on that side, and one of the things they said to me is they're concerned about an increase in sexual assault, sexual violence, etc. Is that something that you think is credible, or do you think it's being made up, or how do you feel?
I don't think it's credible at all because one person doesn't constitute their whole country. There's been loads of white Englishmen who rape. Doesn't mean every white Englishman rapes. Just because one refugee man rapes doesn't mean everyone's going to. Just because there's one in a million doesn't mean everyone's bad. In order to create a good society that works well, we need people from other places to bring in new cultures, to bring in new perspectives on life. I don't think any society can work well without people of different places.
Wow. Again, with the statistics, she says 1 in a million. If 1 in a million commits a sexual offense, that doesn't represent their community. But what if 60 in 10,000 were to do it? Would that then be a cause of concern? I think this girl is unaware of the statistics in this situation. Also, she says that you need immigrants for your country to work. But what about all of the cultures throughout history that have not been a country of immigrants? You know, what about a country like Japan that's been closed to outsiders? Did that country work? So again, I'm not saying that she's in any way a bad person, and she has her reasons for coming out, and and bless her, she can't get any sleep because of all the racket. And through her own admission, she says, I don't care what the other people think and what they're saying, and then has also demonstrated a lack of awareness of the wider political context. But fair play to her for actually speaking up about it. Here they are, look. The thin blue line between opposing sides, opposing forces.
Well, hello, mate.
Well,
you came well prepared.
Thank you.
What brings you here?
To be honest, I'm just a bit fed up of the taxpayer in this country taken the piss out of. Because the reality is, I walk on the streets of London every day, I see people sleeping on the streets, people who've paid, British citizens who've paid into the tax system for decades, some of them have even fought for this country, and yet you get people who come over here illegally on boats and they're getting free housing, 4 square meals a day, free gym membership, some of them, free driving lessons, £70 a week pocket money. And to be honest, I'm just quite sick of the British taxpayer getting taken piss out of.
And what do you do?
Well, I'm a student.
You're a student?
I'm at the LSE.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I'm not working at the minute, but in a few years I will be paying into the tax system. Hopefully quite a fair amount if I get a good job. And I don't want my taxpaying money to be spent on giving such nice lifestyles to people who've come into this country illegally, undermine the security of our borders, when it could be going to housing veterans who've actually fought for this country.
And what have you made of the protest today?
It's been all right. It's been nice and peaceful. I saw one guy who was treated a bit unfairly by the police. They sort of just picked him out of nowhere and said that he apparently had a weapon on him. Searched him for about 4 minutes, took his ID and stuff. He didn't have anything of him. Did they apologise? No, of course they fucking didn't. But it's been mostly peaceful. We've heard the same 2 or 3 chants from them lot for, the past hour and a bit. Not very creative. But no, it's just been, from our lot, it's just been a nice, positive gathering. It's quite funny when they're calling us Nazis and we're waving Israel flags. Or they're calling us racist, and there's black and brown guys over our side. Because the reality is, it's not about race. It's not about race. If you want to come to this country, work hard, then I don't give a fuck what skin colour you are, mate. You can be as British as I am. I've got friends who are black, brown, Muslim even, and their heart beats for St George just as much as mine does. Because at the end of the day, it's not about race. It's not about skin colour. We don't care about that. All we ask is that if you're going to come to this country, you benefit our society. You don't take from it.
And so what would you like to happen to the illegal immigrants in the hotels?
Illegally, well, anyone who's come here illegally should just be deported. No, end story. I think given how the extent to which the integrity of our borders have been undermined and the way that this country has been taking piss out of for the past few years, we do need to, whenever the next government comes in, and it probably will be reform. I don't know if it will be, but whoever it is, I think.
Would you like it to be reform?
I just want to say, I'm quite impressed with this guy. He reminds me of some of the students that I have taught over the last few years. He's a very articulate young man, and he's getting his point across very well. And if this is the caliber of mind that will be entering the workforce from Generation Z, then it gives me hope. So anyway, Konstantin Kissin asks him, do you want reform to get in?
I mean, I'm not like a massive fan of Nigel Farage.
Why not?
I think he's a bit of a smug prick, to be honest with you, but I read their manifesto and there's a lot of stuff I agree with. And at the end of the day, I'm willing to make certain compromises and put certain grievances aside for the future of this country. I do worry though, because the reality is a lot of reform is full of ex-conservatives. And while I politically align with conservatives on a lot of things, on this specific issue with immigration, we've seen 4 successive conservative manifestos that have promised we're going to cut migration, we're going to cut migration, we're going to cut that migration. Have they done it? No, of course they haven't. You think the last one, for example, like Boris Johnson, he was getting the endorsements of everyone on the right because he made it very clear we're going to get Brexit done and we're going to get control of our borders. And yet we had the highest migration figures under him that we have since World War II. So to be honest, I'm not sure if I can trust the Conservatives or Reform, but I mean, what other option do we have at this point? I can't see any of the other, like Reform are winning the polls. The reality is, I think at this point we've just got to accept that they are going to win and just hope that they don't betray the people who voted for them again. That's all we can say about Reform, to be honest.
I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for your thoughts.
Very impressive, very articulate. Like this guy should start a YouTube channel. Like there was no or ah or anything in what he was saying. He was just like getting the right words out, like very lucidly. Like he's a very good speaker. I know how I understand how he feels about reform. It's like on one hand, like they're the only party that supposedly wants to reverse migration and remove illegal immigrants. On the other hand, Nigel Farage is a bit of a smug prick. And I get it. It's like there are a lot of people that are coming round to the right side of the fence in this debate, if we can call it that, in this situation. But when it actually comes to putting an X in a box, in the ballot box, will people actually be able to bring themselves to vote for Nigel Farage? That's a real conundrum and dilemma for a lot of people. But he says, but what's the alternative? Like the uni party? So anyway, let's carry on.
Nice to meet you. My thoughts on the day? Well, first and foremost, I said this before, but I don't understand why you would go to a protest and then not talk to people. We were lucky. We did manage to speak to some of the so-called anti-racism protesters, and their perspective seems to be, everyone's the same, no human is illegal, and all these other stuff. And one of the things I found a little bit troubling is they all kept saying, well, I don't care what the other side think. I don't care. I'm not interested in their concerns. But also, I think a lot of it just everyone's got their own facts and the things that they personally care about and the things that they personally believe. So, the people who are against migrant hotels, they say, well, certain groups are more represented in certain types of crime, which, according to the statistics I'm aware of, is true. The people on the other side have no idea about that. And so they think these people are just discriminating against these people because of their skin color or wherever else. It's very intense. Protests attract intense people. The people that you meet on a protest are not the type of people that you're going to bump into in day-to-day life. And you can tell the atmosphere is pretty febrile, and a lot of normal people are now getting involved in these conversations that are being concerned about it. So I think this is going to run and run. Today, as we recorded this in Canary Wharf, there were protests all over the country. And that tells you, I think, where we're going.
All right. So yeah, some great final thoughts there from Konstantin Kisin. I really appreciate his attempts to be impartial. Now, is he entirely impartial? Probably not. Is anybody entirely impartial? Probably not. Everyone's going to have their own opinions and their own bias, but I at least appreciate his attempt to be impartial and to give everyone a fair hearing. I think he was very respectful with everyone, and I think what he's doing is really valuable when he goes to one side and questions someone and then says, people on the other side are saying this, and what do you think about that? That's actually encouraging some debate. And I'm all for political debate, because if we don't have a political debate, then the alternative is pretty gruesome and pretty ugly. So I'm going to bring up a few things. I'm going to pause the stream. So, what can I add to this conversation that has not already been very articulately included by Konstantin Kisin? Well, the first thing that I would like to bring up is the idea of what the Russians called active measures, which was part of psychological warfare. And this gentleman here, Yuri Bezmenov, was a KGB defector. Here he is again, who lived in Canada, I believe. And he basically spilled the beans on Russian psychological warfare techniques. And he gave a lecture here. And here it is: Psychological Warfare, Subversion and Control of Western Society. And he also gave a really great interview here entitled Deception Was My Job, both on YouTube. Yuri Bezmenov, I believe, was assassinated in the end. So he did die to bring us this message. And I believe it's important for people in the West today to listen to him. Here is a short, just for this video, to give an idea of what he was talking about.
Ideological subversion is the slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. This is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. Ideological subversion is...
Okay. Does that remind you of anything? Are you connecting any dots there? Are there any people on this at this protest that you think maybe have been subject to ideological subversion? I mean, I think when this girl was talking about how Britain is built on the backs of slavery, etc. You know, I do think that she's had Marxist ideology pumped into her soft head by a university. And I mean, you have to understand that this ideological warfare was occurring during the Cold War and after the Cold War. But I've seen it occurring still, particularly since about 2018 or so. We saw a generation of students emerge from universities that had been indoctrinated, I would say, into various different Marxist sort of ways of thinking. And these became what have been referred to in common parlance as the woke crowd. So why is this relevant? I believe that what's going on here is that the extreme Islamists who want to revive the caliphate, essentially, have been taking notes on Yuri Bezmenov and on Russian psychological warfare. And I believe that they are using it to their advantage, and it appears to be somewhat effective. And this is when the LGBT crowd stopped waving the rainbow flag and then started waving the Palestine flag. And it's the same story that they tell over and over again. It's like, your country is the evil country. Your country is the colonizer and the oppressor and the slaver. And that the other side, who are actually your enemy, they were the innocent indigenous people that have been trampled on by the evil colonizer. Does this sound familiar? So the other thing, just a final note before I leave. I'm reminded of this Franz de Waal 2-monkey experiment, which is a psychological game, a psychological experiment played with these monkeys here.
The one on the left is the monkey who gets cucumber. The one on the right is the one who gets grapes. The one who gets cucumber, note that the first piece of cucumber is perfectly fine. The first piece she eats. Then she sees the other one getting grape, and you will see what happens. So she gives a rock to us, that's the task. And we give her a piece of cucumber and she eats it. The other one needs to give a rock to us. And that's what she does. And she gets a grape. And she eats it. The other one sees that. She gives a rock to us now, gets again cucumber.
Hey! Screw you and your cucumber. What about the grape? It's not fair.
She tests the rock now against the wall. She needs to give it to us. And she gets cucumber again. So this is basically the Wall Street protest that you see here.
Yeah, and it is basically the Migrant hotel process as well, protest. Yeah, this is what I'm reminded of when they say about, like, how come they get all this special treatment and we can barely afford to pay our rent and our bills and stuff. So yeah, this is a form of envy and resentment that's so deep that you can trace it back to our primal ancestors. Anyway, I suppose that's all I have to say about this particular protest. Thanks for joining in and watching this with me, and I hope you're all doing well. If you have anything to say, then please leave a comment, and I hope you're all doing well. Okay. See you later. Bye-bye.